Good morning, traders. Welcome to the Bookmap Platform Details webinar. This is Bruce at Bookmap. Risk disclaimer, trading futures, equities, and digital currencies involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. All right, so what we do in this webinar is we introduce you to Bookmap, define what it is, who uses it, how to connect it, and how to get it. And then go through the basics in the user interface and start to look at the basic order flow as well. So this is the basic education that comes with Bookmap. Is just this is open to the public. However, we do have the educational course for subscribers. Okay, it's a 4-part educational course. It goes from the very beginnings on up to much more advanced concepts. And then every day following this webinar at 11 a.m. Eastern for about an hour, we go through the advanced order flow webinar, okay? It goes through the same educational course content, but just in the live market. So you can ask questions about what you see, the advantages Bookmap is giving you, how to read it, and how to start to anticipate future price movement, okay, based on our objective analysis. Okay, so that's the education that comes with Bookmap, that 2-part there. So one is you always have access to the course, and then secondly, you have the live order flow webinars going through advanced features or order flow concepts. So you can see it, ask questions, and start to understand it yourself. All right, let's jump into bookmap.com. One thing, I'm going to pass you guys the link to that advanced order flow webinar today. It's in the chat here. Okay, there you go. I just put it in the chat. And that will allow you to attend, and if you want to check it out for yourself. All right, so usually do that on Friday so you guys get a kind of a peek of what the education is about. All right, let's jump over to bookmap.com and we'll scroll down. Define what Bookmap is. We are a software trading platform. We have a unique way of visualizing the market data. That's our strength. Okay, that's the advantage and the edge that you're getting. All right, other platforms aren't displaying this kind of data, and they probably will in the future, but at the moment, a lot of them are not, and it is critical data to understand. Anyway, we'll continue to scroll down. The different traders that you can see here: swing traders, day traders, scalpers, and quants trading algos and HFT. You can read here more about the edge you get with Bookmap. Okay, we're going to go through that in this webinar and the advanced order flow webinar, and connectivity. Okay, so let's widen this out a bit and we'll stop right here. Okay. So a few things about connectivity. Number one, we connect to multiple data providers, okay, simultaneously. So, if you're a futures trader and you have a data feed for CQG or Rhythmic, and you want to add CQG, you can. If you want to add IQ feed, you can. Okay, all at the same time. You can also look at the different digital currencies at the same time. You can connect to those exchanges, and you can also connect to U.S. equities. Okay, so for example, my Bookmap here, I am connected here to futures data with Rhythmic, but I also have stocks here. Okay, through DX feed, you can see the DX feed right here, right? And I'm also connected to a digital currency, okay, GDAX exchange up here for Bitcoin, US dollar. So all three at the same time, and you can see my connectivity up here. 1, 2, 3 are all enabled at the same time. You can have multiple. Okay, so that's one. Number two is the different markets that we connect to. So I just demoed that. We can connect to futures market, US equities markets, and digital currencies. Okay, now the data is important here. The data for the digital currencies is free. Okay, no problems there. But for US equities and for futures, you will need to provide the data. Okay, it's we're not a data provider nor a broker. you will need to offer that and connect to Bookmap. Okay, so let's go through some of the different ways of connecting. For US equities, you connect with DX feed here. Okay, it includes a NASDAQ total view and last sale, and you can also get EDGX, which is BATS. You can get either or both together. For futures data, okay, Rhythmic, CQG, Gain Capital, Transact, IQ Feed, Nanotick, and Cedro. Cedro's for the Brazilian markets. These are all different ways to connect for futures data. Now, you can also connect via the API of these three platforms here: TT Xtrader Pro, NinjaTrader, and Interactive Brokers Traders Workstation. Okay, we connect via the API of these three platforms. So you can go that route. However, it is recommended to connect directly to your data provider, okay, like Rhythmic or CQG, etc. Right, you'll just get cleaner data. All right, some testimonials here, and then come down to packages, and we'll stop here again. All right, this is how you can get Bookmap, and these are the different versions that are available. You can subscribe yearly, or you can click here and subscribe monthly. It's up to you. You get a discount if you go yearly. And you can see there are two different digital versions and there's two different global versions. So let's define what they are. Digital is only for digital currencies. That's it. All right. That's the only way you can, only market you can connect to. Global includes all the markets. Okay, you can connect to US equities, futures, and digital currencies with either global version here. Okay, now the digital version over here you can see is free. All right, you only get access to one digital currency, but the data is live, and the market's always open, even over the weekend. So you can always check out a live market. All right, the basic education is this webinar, as well as our YouTube page and other documents, but that's what you get, and you don't get the advanced education, and you don't get full support. Okay, the Digital Plus version, what you get is access to GDAX, BitMEX, and there will be others soon. And you can trade right from your Bookmap chart into those accounts, okay, fully funded accounts. You can record and replay your data. Okay, you get multiple instruments. You can connect to several different digital currencies. And then also, this is where you get the advanced education and full support. All right, now, if you don't trade digital currencies, that's fine. Then go with the global version. Okay, that allows you the access to futures and US equities here. Right, and you also get the advanced education, of course, and everything else. The Global Plus version, again, includes everything, all the different markets, but it also includes our add-on indicators. One is the ability to trade right from the Bookmap chart. Okay, it's a great advantage because you have the heat map in front of you, and I'll describe what the heat map is for those of you who don't know. Basically, what it allows you to do is very precisely optimize your trading. You have the heat map in front of you. You can front run high liquidity. You can hide your stops behind high liquidity and gain a bit of advantage there through optimizing your trade management. Also, our add-on indicators, there are several. For example, the large lot tracker. These are all proprietary indicators we built that look at very specific order flow phenomena. So for example, our large lot tracker, we're looking at larger players who are providing the majority of liquidity in that order book. Okay. This is an advantage, is starting to understand how the larger players might start to skew that book. We'll see that today. And when they pull that liquidity as well, that's another skew. It's a vacuum that is kind of created there. Imbalance indicators is another one for both the book and for the volume. Our iceberg tracker, again, larger players starting to notice them, but they're not showing their liquidity. They don't want to show it. They want to get filled without anyone else knowing. So they'll use an iceberg order, okay? But our algo can detect that. and start to notice where the larger players are dealing. We also have a correlation tracker adding different markets onto the Bookmap chart. This has been a great one for us. For example, looking at the NASDAQ E-mini, we've been looking at a lot of NASDAQ stocks that are leaders in the index, okay? And starting to gauge, well, what is the NASDAQ E-mini going to do based on that? Good morning, Andrea. Of course, you get the advanced education here with that Global Plus. All right, anyway, let's go through just a few more different things. There's some other resources here. Our blog, you might want to read some of our trader interviews and just interesting information here. You can also go to our Twitter page. All sorts of information is tweeted every day, so you might want to check that out. And then our YouTube channel, all sorts of videos here. Okay, so if you're new and you're interested in what Bookmap has to offer, I would recommend off the homepage here on YouTube channel, watch some of the intro videos, then maybe some of the features and components, but these are going to probably be the most helpful down here, the order flow video snippets, okay, to understand order flow phenomena that Bookmap is uncovering. Right, very short videos here that go over that concept, specific concepts in the order flow. You'll see what I mean. However, this is what we go through in detail in the advanced order flow webinars. All right, so for those of you who came in late, those advanced order flow webinars, I'm going to give you the link here to it. It's in the chat. Okay, so let me paste it in here. There you go. And we usually on Friday give you a sneak peek into what our education process is like, okay? Yeah, so you'll need to register for that. Click on that link and register for the next webinar that starts in about 17 minutes or so. All right, let's jump over to Bookmap and see what's going on. Okay, well, here's our stock Twitter. Look at the book here, just great stuff to see. Love seeing this every day. See this very, very high liquidity, this one big player here. See how they're skewing the book down here with their quite a few orders in the order book, and they're raising the bid, okay? And we know this has got to be a larger player because look at this block of liquidity, and then it pulls and adds higher at the same time, pulls, adds higher again, pulls, adds higher again over time, okay? So great stuff. The stocks are fantastic. Seeing this information in Bookmap because, for example, let's just zoom out a bit. And what I want to show you here is we're going to zoom vertically. Here's the cash open here at 9:30 a.m. Let's zoom a little bit more. Well, look where the larger players are. We already know this information. We even know pre-market where they are, up here at 33. Okay, and then at the cash open, they start to come in. Looks like this guy pulled here and added a little lower, and then added right back up into this area here, around 32.75. Okay, and then larger player down here at 31, the figure. Okay, you can see how they're at the kind of round numbers here as well. Okay, also down here it's 31.50. Okay, anyway, this is a fantastic. Just that alone, I think, is worth the U.S. equities data and understand, where the larger players are dealing immediately and their behavior. All right. So here they can see them pull kind of in this area, and they're adding a little bit higher, but they're also adding lower. Right. So they're down here at 32.50 now as well, and they've been there for a while. All right. Anyway. I'm getting way, I seem to do this every day, get way ahead of myself here. We can take a look at NASDAQ E-mini. However, it's a big range here. I'm kind of interested in looking at crude oil today. So let's jump over to that. I'm kind of anticipating a larger move here in crude oil to the upside. So let's jump into crude oil today, and we'll follow that one. All right. So and why? Well, I'll elaborate a little bit more in the next webinar. But I noticed on Wednesday, a lot of larger players getting filled on the bid on the way down on that large move to the downside. Okay, so anyway, I'll talk about it more later. All right, the Bookmap chart here. Okay, we have a lot of different add-ons here or indicators, etc. But I'm going to close them up. Our cumulative volume delta. I'm going to close our historical VWAP, which has been a great one as well. And our iceberg detector here, I'll close that up, and also our VWAP is off, good. Okay, and let's zoom in here. Okay, now for those of you who are new here, just cover the basics in the user interface, what you're looking at here in the Bookmap chart. Okay, it's very simple, straightforward data. Okay, there's only 3 elements on the chart. One is the current and historical best bid and offer. Okay, this white line right here, okay, is dividing historical market here. This is all what occurred, and this is what is occurring right now in this window. Right, here's our best bid and offer currently. Okay, and then you can see our price ladder here, and this is the last traded volume, and that's what that number represents as well. All right, so we record the historical best bid and offer. That's it. And we're not looking at any sort of aggregated data. It's just historical best bid and offer, and that is an advantage. Okay, because it allows you to see microstructure, and it truly allows you to see the order flow in detail. Okay, when you look at a bar rotation, point and figure, it doesn't matter. Whatever it is, that is an aggregated data, and you know, a point and figure chart can just stay in trade within a range and 1 bar the entire day. That's possible. Okay. Instead, we're looking at every single you know, move back and forth. But you can see we're zoomed out here quite a bit, and we can still understand what's going on. We're seeing all sorts of things here, and trading through. Here's our move to the upside. This is what I was looking for, and I'm looking for a much bigger move here today in crude. Anyway, yeah, I'll get to this in just a second here, and we'll cover it. This move to the upside, but the 3 elements, we still need to define them, and then we can get into the good stuff. All right, so the 3 elements on the chart are, 1 is that historical best bid and offer. Number 2 are these dots that you see. These dots are volume. Okay, very precisely recorded, and I'll show you that. Well, let's just zoom in, and I'll show you it right now. Okay, very precisely recorded volume. Okay, so if I zoom in here are the 2 elements that we're covering so far. Okay, we'll get to the heat map in a minute, but the 2 elements, best offer is the red line, best bid is the green line. Okay, here are these green dots. These are market buy orders. Okay, it's the aggressor classification of volume. Okay, so anyone who uses market buy order, they cross the spread, they pay up for it, they take liquidity, they do not provide liquidity, they take liquidity off of the best offer, and a transaction occurs. Okay, and red dot, that's the aggressive market sell. All right, so that precision that I mentioned here. Okay, well, zoomed out, you can see that you know, some of these dots here, we can make the dots a little bit bigger. The size of the dot gives you kind of an overall reference, graphical representation of what's going on here. And we can also use this data tip tool if you want the precise data. Okay, so this is a 1 lot, or I'm sorry, 2. All right, this bigger dot here, we hover over that, and this is for a volume of 74. You can see the date, the time, what was on the ask in terms of liquidity at that price level, and then the volume that traded at that price level. Okay, now let's zoom into this dot. Okay, here's what really occurred. You can see that we're pulling apart all of those big trades. Okay, this actually looks like 1 for a volume of 30. And let's just go to a trades counter. Yeah, indeed it is. Okay, this is 1 trade for a volume of 30. Okay, so we have a trades counter here, as you can see. Now there's 2 trades here. Okay, 1 over here is for a volume of 1, and then here's 30. Okay, you can see the volume size here gives that reference to what volume of 1 looks like compared to 30. All right, but let's zoom out a little bit and zoom in and get us a little more interesting here when we start to see some of these clusters. We're down at microsecond level here, millions of seconds, and we're showing every single transaction that took place. Okay, very precisely recorded. Okay, we can go down to nanosecond level. I'm going to spare you zooming in, but it is fascinating to see, and just want to show you how precise an instrument Bookmap is. All right, so now you can see and start to understand true context here of the order flow, what's really occurring here. Okay, so for example, look at all this accumulation here on the offer. Okay, aggressive traders, they're trading here with a small size, but they're not moving price against them. Okay, and they're building up, pretty nice profile here of aggressive buying, and then you see this kind of move to the upside here, and there's still, well, it kind of pulls back here. Okay, and I imagine that algo is still working in there. Okay. Well, anyway, the S&P shows that really nicely. You'll see that they'll continue to, with small size, trade on the offer without moving it, because that's how you move price. Like this here is a sweep of the order book. Okay, they take all the liquidity here from one level, and it trades through to the next level. Okay, now the best offer is one price higher. Okay, and that's how it works. Here's a beautiful sweep right here, right? And a little bit of quotes data is like a little off here, as you can see. There's some latency issues, as you can see here, when these fast moves occur between quotes data and trade data. Okay, and that's just how it comes in through the data provider. You'll notice these things, but when we zoom out, you can see that what we're doing here in Bookmap is we are aggregating just visually these larger dots into something more usable for us when we're trading on higher time frames. Right, so we can start to see and understand, wow, there was a lot of buying, they swept the book higher. This is a nice breakout. And then they traded through this area of high liquidity right here. Okay, and let's understand this area here of high liquidity. Okay, well, we only have a few more minutes, so I'll get back to that. This little area here, it's important to understand, but let's go to the heat map and define the third element that is displayed here on this chart. Okay, and that's the heat map. Okay, so we know the volume, we know the best bid and offer. We can see the microstructure elements here in the best bid and offer and how the volume interacted within those areas. Right, so well, it's basically the volume that created those microstructures. Anyway, nice how we broke out from this high liquidity area and we're still testing and bouncing off of same level. Okay, notice that. You'll see all these types of things start to line up really nicely. Now let's just get in here and define this heat map. Okay, so in the current market here, here's our best bid and offer, our price ladder, and then here are the this is our DOM here. The current order book is what the COB column stands for. And what we're looking at here is liquidity. This is, if you look at a DOM, any DOM out there, you understand what I'm talking about. These are contracts here. Okay, there's 100 contracts up here at this 84 level here. Okay, so a lot of liquidity, and they're even adding more in, as you can see. Okay, so these are sellers up here, these are buyers down here. Now what we do is we take these areas of very high liquidity and they'll be painted in the heat map. Okay, interesting stuff. See how they added more as price started to come up into this area here. Right, so we got a little bit of a game going on here. It looks like they have the intent to trade, and we'll see. Like, I think we're going to test these guys, and we'll see if they're going to pull at the last second here. But it looks like they want to trade, and let's see if they get filled here. Anyway, the heat map. You can see it changing here. These numbers change, the heat map changes. Okay, so it represents graphically these numeric values here in the DOM. Okay, the scale of the heat map is up here, and you can see it just playing out. The red orange area is very high liquidity, then less liquidity is yellow, and then white, then blue, and then black. Okay. So that's the heat map. In this window here, when you see the numbers change, you'll see the heat map change. Okay, where it gets really interesting though is where we record it and place it onto the chart historically. All right, so you just saw this little battle kind of shape up here at this 84 level. Okay, and they were adding in higher liquidity, more liquidity at this area here. Okay, and we just traded into that area here. Let's take a look. Let's zoom in here. Okay, and let's look at the specifics. You can see here the 110, they're adding even more here. And then kind of last second here, see how they're pulling some of that liquidity? Okay, they went from 111 contracts down to 96, then 95, but they're starting to also transact into this area. Okay, so it's a little bit of both here. Do they have the intent to trade? Yes, they do. But they're also pulling some, but it's still pretty high liquidity here. So now we have an understanding at this price level that there's some interest here in selling. Okay, but they're also not so keen on getting large size on in this area. So maybe they want to trade up above at higher areas. And in fact, if we look at it and we can start to understand this liquidity here, because it's all recorded. It's very easy to just visually look at it. Look how they're pulling here, and it seems to be that they're adding up here in these levels. Okay, almost at the same moment. You'll see when they do pull and add at the same level. We can go back to our Twitter example, and that's about as clear as it gets. How they and where is that Twitter? Here it is. I didn't need to do that. Yeah. I'm going to zoom into this level here. Okay. Well, anyway, it's taking this time here to refresh. I've got several days of data here. So anyway, so I mean, look at this. I mean, how clear is that? You know, high liquidity pulled, added higher again and again, etc. Okay, and where did price go? Okay, it comes up into these areas of higher liquidity and trades. Okay? It looks like they transacted, right? And we want to know these areas. These are you can look at these areas here and start to understand that we have the potential to come up into and trade into this area. Why? Because that's where the liquidity is. And that's where they'll start to slow that buying pressure down, which is exactly what happened up here. Anyway, understanding liquidity and this kind of reference here of what's going on in the book is really important to integrate into your studies, your methodologies. Getting this kind of insight is fantastic, and where it might go as well. You've got the insight. Anyway, I want to jump back and I want to look at that crude oil area here, because we just saw how they kind of have intent to trade, they kind of don't, and the battle's still going on here. Okay, I still think we're breaking out and going to the up. Yeah, and we are. Here we go. It looks good. Let's get up to 68 here. That's the figure, and then look at it. 68.10. There's some high liquidity up there as well. Anyway, we'll see if we can charge through that area. This area over here, I want to make the distinction here. We saw this kind of, not so keen on trading up here. The guys here with the limit orders, in fact, they were adding a bit higher up at 67.90. But this area here transacted. Okay, this is the distinction. Knowing what's real and what's not in terms of liquidity, or what really has the intent to trade and what doesn't. Okay, well, these players up here, wow, 290 contracts. They had the intent to trade. There's no question about it, right? And it did trade. okay? So in fact, we can see here in the book 280 contracts traded here. Okay, so they pulled a little bit, right? And they pulled it down to exactly 280, okay? And then it all transacted, all of it. So this larger player at this price level here at 67.71 is short, okay? Or covered his long, whatever it is, doesn't matter. The transaction took place, it was real liquidity, and it traded. All right, so for those of you who came in late, I'm going to give you the link here to the next webinar. It starts right now. There it is. So just click on that. It's in the chat. And then you guys can come take a look at the advanced order flow webinar. Okay, and that's part of our education that comes with the subscription. All right, well, let's wrap it up here, and we'll see you in the next webinar if you have the time. If not, we'll catch up with you next week.